InvestorIdeas.com Podcasts.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of InvestorIdeas.com Podcasts, looking at cannabis news, stocks to watch, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. Happy May 1st and welcome to today's podcast where I focus on a few early announcements from some interesting companies. But first, HelloMD will now provide patients in Canada with convenient access to practitioner-led advice about medical cannabis through a new relationship with Shoppers Drug Mart, online medical cannabis platform. So since its launch in 2015, HelloMD's turnkey telehealth platform has facilitated more than 100,000 virtual consults between medical cannabis patients and licensed practitioners, and HelloMD is currently active in the US and in Canada. So what does this really mean? The Medical Cannabis by Shoppers Drug Mart website now features a dedicated portal operated by HelloMD patients, so they can now access a live video consultations with licensed healthcare practitioners through the dedicated portal 7 days a week from the comfort of their home. Following this consultation with a healthcare practitioner, patients can then receive a medical document authorizing their registration as a medical cannabis patient, and then may return to the Medical Cannabis by Shoppers website to register and begin choosing from the wide selection of approved products. Why is this important right now? Because this is a new avenue, a direct from home avenue to basically get and allow people to get their medical licenses in Canada. So I really think this is important if you are looking for a new avenue and an easy avenue to find your medical practitioner to deal with and find out if you qualify for medical cannabis. This is now a new offering that's on the market and very good for the Canadian medical industry. Another non-publicly related company announcement that came out today that I find very interesting is from Cannabis Pharmaceutical Industries Israel and the pharmaceutical company Rafa, who announced the signing of a collaboration agreement with Plant XT Limited, an Israeli-Canadian medical cannabis company. So in this agreement, the parties will co-develop the next generation of medical cannabis products intended for patients suffering from inflammatory bowel disease and who are authorized to receive treatment with medical cannabis. The treatment consists of medical cannabis suppositories, which contain a proprietary composition based on a combination of defined and precise active ingredients from the cannabis plant. The novelty lies in the fact that for the first time, a medical cannabis product will be developed in order to offer a targeted solution for patients suffering from Crohn's disease and colitis, in order to decrease the level of inflammation in the intestine and inflammatory bowel disease, or chronic diseases that can appear at any age. Now, for the first time, treatment with medical cannabis for these patients will be delivered utilizing an accepted conventional pharmaceutical delivery system, and which is based on clinical research. Again, why I would find this interesting is that this is the first suppositor coming on the market that I've heard of so far, and it's dealing with a different set of diseases and sort of effects that we haven't seen come onto the market. Read the quote here from Dr. Dadi Segal, Canaxia CEO. Canaxia has already gained proven and successful experience with cannabis suppositories in the American market. The agreement that was signed today is an additional milestone in revolutionizing accessibility of medical cannabis, also in Israel, which we led together with Rafa. By enabling cannabis accessibility via traditional pharmaceutical delivery systems, which are not based on smoking, we are striving to enable patients who are eligible for medical cannabis treatment for a wide range of diseases to be able to benefit from its unique attributes, subject to all times to the advice of qualified medical specialists. Like I said, I do find this interesting, but now we're coming out. We're going to see more of this. We do see more of this on a weekly basis. New technologies coming to the market, and really a different style of approach to this. And again, dealing with diseases that affect a lot of us in the growing age. So now onto the announcements. Today we're going to be looking at CURLF Holdings Incorporated, trading on the CSE as CURA and the OTCQX as CURLF. We have C21 Investments Incorporated, trading on the CSE as CXXI, and Sproutly Canada Incorporated, trading on the CSE as SPR and the OTC as SRUTF. So first looking at CURLF Holdings Incorporated, a leading vertically cannabis operator in the U.S., who today announced it signed a definitive agreement to acquire the state-regulated cannabis business of CURA Partners Incorporated, owners of the Select brand, in an all-stock transaction valued at 1.27 billion Canadian or 948 million US. So this acquisition includes Select's manufacturing, processing, distribution, marketing, and retail operations, and adult use cannabis products marketed under the Select brand name, including all intellectual property. Now, based in Portland, Oregon, Select is the most well-known cannabis wholesale brand in the country, with its THC products sold in more than 900 retailers, and is the leading cannabis brand in key western states, including California, Arizona, Oregon, and Nevada. So why is this important for CURLF? Because again, brand recognition. So now CURLF has a massive connection which they have already set up on the East Coast, and now with this Select, they have a massive West Coast connection. Brand recognition is going to be a massive component for any cannabis company moving into the future. So this isn't the only company that's working on getting these big Select brands that have already, well, not this Select brand, but big brands that are existing and have already dominated the market in certain areas. So like I said, I can see more announcements like this coming out in the coming weeks, and we already have seen a bunch of announcements like this, with people focusing on a pre-established brand to add to their company so they can gain a significant market. Next, looking at C21 Investments, who launched a new product with the Phantom Vape Pen. This highly anticipated vape pen solves a number of industry challenges by providing uniform viscosity, shelf stability, oil clarity, as well as consistency of flavor and potency. Vaping is the main driver of concentrate sales, which are projected to reach $8.4 billion in U.S. sales by 2022, said Sky Pinnock, Chief Marketing Officer of C21 Investments. Our strategy for the Phantom Vape Pen was to provide an affordable, superior product at a highly competitive price point, helping to bridge the gap for flower traditionalists to high-quality concentrates. The Phantom Vape Pen is made by Phantom Farms, a clean green certified cannabis cultivator in Oregon, using the industry-leading CXXI technology with Phantom Farms' proprietary terpene-heavy CO2 plus distillate extract formulation. The Phantom Vape Pen provides native flavor, so terpene retention and consistent potency and vaporization experience. So again, why would this be important? Vape pens are becoming an explosive element in the cannabis industry. And as someone who's tried a couple of the vape pens, yeah, there are inconsistencies. There's a lot of levels that are going on right now. So the first company that can get a very consistent product across the board will have some advantages. And again, they're not the only ones coming out with vape pens, but the fact that they are looking for what the market problems are from a consumer end and even from a sales point end is definitely a valuable thought process, and I think a lot of companies are going to start looking to create that next level of vape pen, a little more quality, a little more consistency. And again, we do want to, or at least I know many companies want to switch people away from the dry flower and into the high concentrate extracts or the distillates, just because they're putting in more work to those products, and the flower is pretty much already made for them. So lastly, we're going to go to Sproutly Canada and OCC Holdings Limited, an affiliate of Moosehead Breweries Limited, who announced that they've entered into a definitive agreement to form an exclusive joint venture to develop, produce, and market non-alcoholic cannabis-infused beverages in Canada using Sproutly's proprietary naturally produced water-soluble cannabinoids known as infused. Both companies will bring their respective strengths to the joint venture to develop a line of great-tasting cannabis beverages featuring a rapid onset and offset effect unique to the category. Sproutly has hosted a conference call with Keith Dolo, CEO of Sproutly Canada, and Matthew Oland, Moosehead executive and incoming CEO of the joint venture. That conference call was at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time this morning on May 1st. I'm pretty sure you can go to their website and onto their link to their Yahoo Finance, and you'll be able to find that conference call. Why do I find this interesting? Again, the beverage market is exploding. They're not the only companies that are doing this. So I have a great quote here actually from Duma Wenshu commenting on this. Duma Wenshu, CEO and co-founder of Province Brands, commented on his announcement, saying that we're delighted to see an excitement and build up to the next phase of cannabis legalization in Canada later this year. With today's news of Sproutly as Moosehead coming out after recent matchups from AB InBev and Tilray, Constellation Brands and Canopy Growth, Heineken and Canacraft, and Molson Coors and Hexo, there can be little doubt that beverages will be a dominant form of cannabis consumption in the years ahead. Above these headlines, though, Province Brands of Canada continues to stand out as the only beverage market that will deliver beer brewed entirely from the cannabis plant, not an infused concoction, thus providing consumers with an experience of authenticity, high quality, and choice that they demand. I mean, that comment pretty much sums up why this is important and why what we see going on in the market. Again, not the only companies partnering with a brewery or with brewery experience. We're going to see more and more of this. And perhaps, Province Brands may stand out as the only company that can produce it from hemp or from the actual cannabis plant, but I'm sure at some point competition is going to show up for them as well, because again, this is an eventuality now that the beverage market is coming to the cannabis industry. So that's all for today's podcast, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.